Jadon Sancho is set to return back to Manchester United after Chelsea have opted to pay a £5 million fine to send him back rather than triggering an obligation to buy. We have so much to talk about, so make sure you guys hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe as well if you are new here. Now, let's start with the biggest elephant in the room regarding this Jadon Sancho situation is that he did not want to take a pay cut to stay at Chelsea, despite the fact he might feel like his loan spell went well. I don't think his loan spell was amazing, and as a person looking at the situation from outside of it, I feel like Chelsea definitely could look at the transfer opportunities available on the market and find something better than Jadon Sancho and more value for their money. 25 million transfer fee for Jadon Sancho is very reasonable, but I think the biggest hindrance is his wage demands. Now, we already know he earns 300k at Manchester United, and when he was joining from Borussia Dortmund, I always wonder why Manchester United gave him such a big wage opportunity, coming from Dortmund to England. Now, Man United weren't the only people involved in interest for him at that time, and Manchester United actually signed him 12 months after they initially started the transfer negotiations with Dortmund. Now, a young player coming into so much money, he probably feels like he's entitled to that. But also, it just shows that I don't think he probably feels like being at Chelsea is somewhere worth taking a pay cut for. We already know also that Manchester United were paying half of his wages whilst he was out on loan for the season. And Enzo Maresca, like I said, probably feels like there's better wingers on the market that they could find than rather paying that for Jadon Sancho plus his wages, which he wasn't willing to shift on. Now, before Man United signed him, he had, 50-something goals, 60-something assists for Borussia Dortmund. And I was really excited for the arrival of Jadon Sancho. I mean, we spent 12 months chasing him, but I don't think Manchester United have got even near enough to half of their value for his money and what they spent on him in terms of what he's offered. He's only got 12 goals in all competitions over 4 seasons at Manchester United, and in those 4 seasons of his contract, one of them he was not even at Manchester United. Last year he was exiled by Erik ten Hag and went on loan in the January transfer window, and before that he missed from basically, I think it was October times onwards. He missed when Erik ten Hag provided him with an opportunity to get away and train away from Manchester. He's only played 83 games for Manchester United in the span of that contract, and now he's got 1 year left on his contract. And I think this is a question to you guys. What do Manchester United do now? Because he is on the transfer list. Out of all the players that Manchester United need to get rid of, he might be the most difficult one to shift because there's not much credit in his bank. There's not really much of a sellable asset there. I feel like with Marcus Rashford, you have all these years of what he's done at Manchester United, and yes, he's got high wages, but I think he might be more easier to shift with a more profitable price tag of 40 million, whereas Jadon Sancho has a price tag of 20 to 25 million plus these astronomical wages, plus he doesn't really have much in his locker to show for over the last 4 seasons that he's been in England. His best time since leaving Dortmund was probably that 6-month loan spell that he spent back at Dortmund last season. So what should Manchester United do? Should Man United actually accept that they might have to pay off some of his wages to get him out in the summer? Should Manchester United look at a market opportunity of actually just terminating his contract? He's got 12 months left. It's very evident that he's not going to stay at Manchester United. I can't speak for Ruben Amorim, but I also think that when Ineos came in, the general consensus was for them to resolve the issue between him and Erik ten Hag so that he doesn't look like an unsellable asset. And then he managed to get that, final deadline day move on loan to Chelsea. And the thing that enticed Chelsea the most was the fact that there was an obligation to buy, which I've never seen this in my life, but by the way, guys, there was an obligation to buy. However, you could also opt out of that and just pay a fine to send the player back. And if anything is damning or more damning than that, then I don't think there is, because that should be a shake-up. That should be a wake-up call for Jadon Sancho, that a club would rather pay 5 million fine to send you back to your original club rather than pay you the wages that you are demanding. And one of the reasons behind his wages, or the fallout with Chelsea, and the reason why they've decided not to keep him on a permanent, is because they wanted him to be within their wage structure. Now, we always joke about Chelsea always buying so many players, but their wage structure is not that high because they offer really long-term contracts, 7, 8, 9 years. Jadon Sancho on his salary would be demanding the highest. He would be demanding more than Reece James, who's one of the highest earners, Enzo Fernandez. Cole Palmer earns less than half than what Jadon Sancho does right now. So it would absolutely impact their wage structure. Yes, he fits probably a lot of categories for Chelsea, which is, you know, a young talent, probably has a sell-on asset if they want to sell him if he performs well, but they don't want to break the wage structure. And that just shows to me that Jadon Sancho needs to realize maybe he's not bigger than what he maybe thinks he is. He doesn't have a lot of credit in the bank, unfortunately, for his time in the Premier League. But I look at all the situations that are arising in the summer transfer window, and I think, where is Jadon Sancho actually going to end up? Which team do you look at this summer and think, you know, that team could do with a Jadon Sancho, or that team could do with a Jadon Sancho? The only place that I can imagine Jadon Sancho going is back to Dortmund. And even there, Dortmund might not want to pay 25 million. They might not want to pay those wages, no matter how much they want him. And I know Gittins is linked to potentially leaving, and that's a player that Chelsea are looking at. So maybe Jadon Sancho could be an option for Dortmund. But what do Manchester United do? Do Manchester United look to sell him? Do Manchester United just think, okay, we could just terminate your contract and pay you out $5.5 million. You've only got a year left if you don't leave this summer. And let's be honest, guys, if Jadon Sancho does not leave Manchester United this summer, then he will leave on a free next year. And Manchester United will be financially fleeced. I mean, they put themselves in that situation, but Manchester United will be financially fleeced. So do Manchester United look at just making an example out of him and terminating his contract and just paying him out and letting him, you know, be able to go and join another club on a free and get a signing on bonus and all of those pretty things that come with being a free agent? Or do Manchester United try their best to get him out in the summer transfer window, even if it means having to take a lower transfer fee? I'm talking like 10 to 15 million, because I know it's very obvious that Manchester United want him gone. And I just wonder what's going to happen now. The biggest question I probably have about Jadon Sancho is, where did it go wrong? I remember him being a promising young talent, English talent that was lighting it up in Europe, one of the highest rated young talents in Europe, and suddenly everything just downhill from when he joined Manchester United. And if I'm being so honest, guys, there's a joke on my live streams that say anytime Minna buys a shirt with a name on the back, that person doesn't do well. I had a Jadon Sancho shirt, and I'm not saying I'm jinxed, but I look at Jadon Sancho joining Manchester United, I'm thinking, you were meant to be that marquee name for us. You were meant to be that marquee talent. You were meant to go on and be part of a successful England national team. You know, 2 finals. Since that Euros final when he missed a penalty, he hasn't been included in the World Cup. He hasn't been included in the next Euros. His downfall has been so unfortunate, to a point that I saw reports linking him to the Turkish league. At this age, your only real transfer news and links are links to Turkey and links to Saudi Arabia. Jadon Sancho's fall off needs to be studied. It's very unfortunate, and there is a player in there, but the player is just not on show, unfortunately. And I say this all the time, we have to take things at face value, not hold on to what the player was once upon a time, but we have to accept what the player is right in front of us, and that is insufficient. Jadon Sancho has not done enough for Manchester United and a Manchester United shirt. Yes, he's a talented player, but the talent hasn't always been on show. And there is no point on having talent if you don't utilize it. You don't, you know, make an impact in your team. And that's applicable to everything in life. Let me know your thoughts down below, guys, in terms of where Jadon Sancho is heading. Do you think he might remain at Manchester United for the next 12 months and leave on a free? Do you think Manchester United should terminate his contract? Do you think Man United can get a fee for him? Where do you see Jadon Sancho actually ending up in the summer? Let me know your thoughts down below, guys. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe as well if you're new here.